What's your biggest problem with this?
I don't have a problem with it. That's Doc's opinion. Skip, Doc's old school. You look at the guys that he mentioned. Skip, who did he put on the first team? And all guys that he grew up watching early in his career, Skip. He had Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, and Oscar Robertson. All the guys that he grew up watching. But I don't want to break it to him. He had 3 guys from one team that was a super team. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain. But he talk about a super team. Does he realize that Bill Russell played on a super team? And in 59 to 66, they won the championship, Skip. They had 8 Hall of Famers. One year they had 11. Doc, you do realize, like, when you played in the 80s, Magic, Kareem, and Worthy, and then they had McAdoo and Jamal Wilkes and Michael Cooper, that was a super team. And when you played the Celtics, because you had to beat the Celtics in the East to get to the finals, to face the Lakers, McHale, Parrish, Bird, Tiny Archibald one year, Dennis Johnson the next year, and in 86, they had Bill Walton coming off the bench, won 6-man. Skip, that was a super team. So I hate to break it to Doc, but super teams have always been in existence. The notion, see, and Doc is an old school guy because he says, I want basketball players to just play. See, he had no problem with front offices, general managers, and team putting these super teams together. He just didn't want the players now. Like, hell, if they could put a team together, why can't we? Kyrie, I like you, bro. Hey, I kick it with you. You rock with me. KD, let's go to Brooklyn. LeBron's like, hey, D-Wade, what's up? At the 08 Olympics. Man, you know what? It'd be cool if we got together. We bring Melo back down. Hey, CB, what's up? You want to come down with Miami? So that's the difference now, Skip. It's not so much teams. Because if teams don't want super teams, they could have easily said, KD, you can't bring Kyrie with you. You either come by yourself or we're not. But they're not doing that. So I don't. That's Doc's list. I disagree with it, but he got 2 guys, Magic and Bird, that played on super teams. And he said he don't like super teams. What the hell you think the 80s Lakers were? They were a super team. They got 2 of the, you could make a case, Skip, they got 2 of the top 5 players of all time with Magic and Kareem, can't you? James Worthy wasn't a slot, first ballot Hall of Famer, won 3 titles. Yep. And finals MVP. Okay. So super teams have always been around. This notion that LeBron started something, LeBron started the notion of player empowerment. He did do that. Says we don't have to play all of our careers one place and then we get on our last legs and the team trade us somewhere else. We can go in our prime. He did start that. And plus, if I'm not mistaken, the 08 Celtics were a super team also. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and KG. And are we forgetting about the Houston Rockets? You can't keep saying, well, they was on their last leg. They got together for a reason. They didn't get together to go play, go watch, sit on the beach somewhere. Yeah.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work out. But you can't say that, Skip, because it didn't work out. They wasn't a super team.
Okay, I got
they tried to put it together. But I don't have a problem. This is Doc's list. I disagree with it, but that's his list.
I'm sorry, I do have a problem. I have no problem with Dr. J himself because I love that man.
Doc. I know Doc. I've talked to Doc several times. I used to bump into him all the time, Skip, when I was living in Atlanta. I bumped into him all the time at the mall, and we end up talking 10, 15, 20 minutes.
He handles himself with such grace and class and dignity.
He's a doctor. He was, for me, what Michael Jordan was to the young guys. Before Michael Jordan, Dr. J was it. Dr. J was it.
But in this case, the doctor is out, as in out of his mind. Any list that has Michael Jordan on the second team is disqualified as just grumpy old man list. Because he's trying to defend his era. These are the stars of my era because he wants to elevate himself a little bit and defend himself, and I get that. But to your point, other than Jordan, my biggest problem was 3 of his first 5 were all on one team. Why were they on one team? And by the way, at least he could have, if he'd put Jordan instead of Jerry West, if he put Jerry West on the second team or something, whatever, then at least it'd have some credibility to me. But how did Wilt Chamberlain get from Philadelphia to Los Angeles? Why did that happen? Speaking of super teams. It happened because Wilt said that Philly was too small for him. Right. That he was such a celebrity. You know, he wrote the book and had all the escapades off the court. You know, all that.
Yeah, 20,000.
20,000. That's what he claimed. Hard to believe, but that's what he claimed. But he believed in Hollywood. So he forced his way to the Lakers, who already had Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, and added Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain.
Is that a super team?
Okay, that qualifies as a super team. If you home grow your team, then I get that doesn't qualify as a super team to me, because if the Celtics just home grow everybody, then that's fine.
Well, they traded for Robert Parrish.
They did.
If I'm not mistaken, they traded the Warriors. They traded Joe Barry Carroll for him.
But he wasn't that guy when they acquired him. He was a great fit for them.
Correct.
And how they drafted Larry Bird is a whole nother story that Red Auerbach pulled off.
You could draft the guy the year before he actually came out, and then you would have his right.
He just buffaloed the whole league on that guy. Okay.
They changed that to territorial draft.
And now to your point about the Showtime Lakers. Well, how did they get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Now, this qualifies as a super team because you didn't home grow Kareem, even though he went to UCLA.
Right.
He went and won a championship in Milwaukee with Oscar, and then he said, I want out.
Right.
You got to get me to Los Angeles.
Right.
I want to go, quote unquote, home. He's from New York, obviously.
Right.
But again, went to UCLA, belonged in Hollywood, and he forced his way out of Milwaukee. And in both cases of Wilt and Kareem, the Lakers stole both of them in the trade, because you're never going to be able to.
Not for those, but you're not going to get value.
You're not going to get value. And if I don't even want to read the names that they gave for both Kareem and Wilt, because you don't even know any of them. Because they came and they went. They were just guys.
Right.
Okay, well, that's how you force your way into super teams. Doc, I'm sorry, they did that in your era, right under your nose.
Yes.
Both those giants, those all-time greats, forced their way into super team concepts before we even called them super teams.
Correct.
And they won a whole bunch of championships because of it.
If I'm not mistaken, Skip, Jamal Wilson was with the Warriors. He was Keith at the time. He was with the Warriors, so they traded for him. They didn't grow him. Now, Bob McAdoo came. Bob McAdoo was from the Buffalo Braves, Clippers, who came there. Bob McAdoo's in the Hall of Fame. Wilson's in the Hall of Fame. Skip, they had 5 guys.
Okay, I got it. Not 1 second on television have I ever so much as criticized LeBron for saying, I got to go down there and join my best friend Dwayne. I had no problem with it, because I don't think LeBron would ever win a championship by himself in Cleveland.
No,
I just don't.
No.
And he was on the outs with the owner. I just had no problem with it.
Right.
Like, go down there because you need Dwayne. He's good for you.
Right.
And Dwayne became his big brother that he needed to just kind of show him the ropes. This is how you handle yourself. This is how you handle pressure. And LeBron grew up under Dwayne, to me. Dwayne had already won his championship. So I can't condemn him. I wouldn't leave him off teams because he joined forces with Dwayne and Chris Bosh.
But Skip, but this notion that all of a sudden LeBron created a super team when the super teams happened in the 50s and 60s.
They just did. I don't know what Doc's talking about.
And I get, Skip, like I said, you got to realize Doc was an ABA legend before. His best years was probably in the ABA before it folded and morphed into the NBA.
Yep.
But to say that Oscar and this is not Wilt and all those guys, they were great, but those were the guys that he grew up watching.
And by the way, the only way Wilt got out of Philly was he threatened to go to the ABA.
Right.
Because it was viable.
Yes.
It was a thing, man.
Yep.
It was highly competitive.
Because you remember, he started with the Harlem Globetrotters.
He did.
So people don't. But this notion that LeBron started a super team, LeBron started player empowerment because the guys they had power, but they didn't exert it like LeBron, like we see KD, like we see guys exerting their power now. But the thing you say about LeBron, Skip, he's never forced his way out of anything. He's always honored his contract.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has honored his contract. He ain't forced to trade.
There was nothing ugly about any of that.
No.
They did it the correct way. They had the right.
But like you said, Skip, this is a grumpy old man here. This is come on, Doc. You better than this, Doc.
Well, he got a lot of attention for it.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.